College football creates legends, but it can also create monsters of hype that the NFL chews up and spits out. Unfortunately for Johnny Manziel, his fall from stardom has been one of the most spectacular flameouts in football history.
Johnny Manziel.
Because here's the thing, the talent was real, the highlights were real. Johnny Manziel had everything a football player could possibly want, and he burned through it faster than almost anyone in the history of the sport. So, what the hell happened?
Watching other guys that are doing what I want to be doing, and I'm sitting on the couch being a loser.
Manziel's story started in Kerrville, a small Texas Hill country town. And unlike a lot of rags to riches football stories, resources were never the problem. His family had oil money going back generations, or at least that's the story everyone believed. Remember that detail, because a decade later, it becomes one of the biggest twists in this entire saga. On the field, Johnny was a Texas high school legend, racking up over 7,600 total yards and 76 touchdowns in his final 2 seasons at Tivy High School. He was a human highlight reel, escaping sacks and turning broken plays into 60-yard touchdowns. Local media called him Johnny Football before he ever left high school. In Texas, that's not a nickname, that's a coronation. But at around 5'11", scouts loved the playmaking and hated the chaos. Too small, too reckless, too much of a backyard player. He eventually landed at Texas A&M, redshirted his first year, and the warning signs came early. Before he'd ever taken a college snap, he was arrested after a late-night fight and caught with a fake ID.
He saw 2 men fighting. Police say one of the 2 was Manziel. When asked for identification, police say Manziel gave them a fake ID.
Most programs would have buried him on the depth chart. Instead, Kevin Sumlin handed him the keys to the offense. And thank God he did, because what happened next was one of the greatest individual seasons in college football history. 2012 was A&M's first ever year in the SEC, the most brutal conference in the sport, and the Aggies were supposed to get destroyed. Instead, this redshirt freshman broke Archie Manning's records, putting up 557 total yards against Arkansas, the most in SEC history, then breaking his own record 3 weeks later. He wasn't playing quarterback, he was playing a completely different sport than everyone else. But one game turned Johnny Manziel into Johnny Football. November 10th, 2012. Tuscaloosa, Alabama. The #1 team in the country, the defending national champions, Nick Saban's death machine of a defense, at home against a freshman who was supposed to be a sacrificial lamb. Instead, Manziel hung 20 points on the Tide in the first quarter alone. And there's one play that lives forever. The pocket collapses, the ball gets knocked out of his hands, he catches his own fumble mid-air, spins away from 3 defenders, rolls left, and throws a touchdown. It made no sense. It still doesn't. The Aggies won 29-24. The loudest stadium in college football went silent, and a legend was born. He finished the season with 3,706 passing yards, 1,410 rushing yards, and 47 total touchdowns. Then became the first freshman in history to win the Heisman Trophy. The award had existed since 1935.
Johnny Manziel.
And no freshman had ever been considered worthy. He was 20 years old, his face was on every sports network in America, and he was on top of the world. And that was exactly the problem. The 2013 offseason was a 9-month victory lap. Courtside next to LeBron, hanging with Drake, partying in Scottsdale, in Vegas, seemingly everywhere, and posting all of it. He even got sent home from the Manning Passing Academy after missing meetings, with rumors swirling he was hungover. His response? Basically, I'm a college kid, deal with it. Then came the scandal that nearly ended everything. In August 2013, The NCAA investigated whether Manziel took money for signing thousands of autographs for memorabilia brokers. This was long before players could legally make a dime off their name. Reggie Bush lost his Heisman for less, but the NCAA couldn't definitively prove he'd been paid. Remember that detail too, because a decade later, we'd find out the truth. The punishment? A half-game suspension. 1/2 against Rice.
You gotta be, the NCAA is just looking. They're just waiting for something. He was awfully good as a cheerleader in the first half. Very involved, showed all the positive signs. As a player, what have we seen from him so far?
And in his first game back, Manziel threw 2 touchdowns, mimed signing an autograph, and flashed the money sign at the crowd. He was untouchable, and he knew it. On the field, Johnny was still Johnny, throwing 4,114 yards and 37 touchdowns in 2013 and hanging 42 on Alabama in a losing effort. But heading into the 2014 draft, the question across the NFL was simple. Is the talent worth the risk? At the combine, he measured under 6 feet, setting off the alarm bells that follow every undersized quarterback. But guys like Russell Wilson answered those doubts with obsessive preparation. Manziel answered with swagger, famously texting the Browns quarterbacks coach to hurry up and pick him so they could wreck the league together. On draft night, Manziel slid and slid and slid for 3 agonizing hours. Then, with the 22nd pick, Cleveland traded up to take him. He walked across the stage, flashed the money sign, and a city starved for a franchise quarterback dared to dream. They should have known better, because what happened next was one of the most complete professional collapses in NFL history. Here's the thing about the NFL. In college, Manziel could out-athlete everybody on raw talent. In the pros, quarterbacks live in the film room because the game is too fast and the schemes are too complex to survive on instinct. And by nearly every account, including his own, Manziel simply didn't work. Reports surfaced that Browns coaches could track film study on the team-issued iPads, and Manziel's reportedly showed 0 hours. Not low, not below average, 0. In a league where backup quarterbacks log 20 or 30 hours of tape a week, that's not a small gap. That's a philosophical statement about how seriously you're taking the job. And it showed. His first start was a 30-0 beatdown by the Bengals, whose players mocked him with his own money sign. Off the field, the partying only accelerated.
We're going to turn now to the NFL rookie nicknamed Johnny Football. Cleveland Browns quarterback Johnny Manziel came into the league with all kinds of hype, but after a rocky first season, notable more for his partying than his playing, Manziel has checked himself into rehab, and ABC's Matt Gutman has the story.
In early 2015, he entered a 10-week treatment program.
Sports, the quarterback Johnny Manziel entered a treatment program on Wednesday.
And for a moment, it looked like a turning point. It wasn't. Late in the 2015 season, while in the concussion protocol, Manziel was reportedly partying in Las Vegas in a blonde wig under a fake name instead of being with the team. His own head coach found out from the news. Then, in January 2016, his ex-girlfriend accused him of assaulting her, a case eventually dismissed after he completed court-ordered conditions. 2 months later, the Browns cut him. 2 seasons, 8 starts, 7 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. His agents dropped him. Nike dropped him. The first freshman Heisman winner in history was out of the NFL at 23 years old. Here's the math that's almost impossible to absorb. Heisman in December 2012. Last NFL pass in December 2015. 3 years from the most celebrated player in college football to out of the league entirely. What followed was a series of failed reinventions. The CFL, where he was eventually banned, the AAF, which folded after 8 weeks, fan-controlled football, worlds away from 100,000 screaming fans in Tuscaloosa, each stop smaller than the last, like watching a star burn out in slow motion. But then, in 2023, Netflix released Untold, Johnny Football, And Manziel finally got honest. Start with the autograph scandal. Remember how the NCAA couldn't prove he had been paid? In the documentary, Manziel flat out admitted it. He signed the memorabilia, took the cash, and lied to investigators, coaches, and his own school. The money ran through his manager, a guy known as Uncle Nate. All in cash, no paper trail. And here's the genius part. The part that ties all the way back to Kerrville. Remember the family oil fortune? According to Johnny himself, that story was wildly exaggerated. The Manziels were comfortable, but never the oil barons everyone made them out to be. And that myth became the perfect cover. When Johnny flashed stacks of cash at casinos, nobody batted an eye because everyone assumed it was family money. Why would the NCAA suspect a rich kid of needing autograph cash? The legend hid the truth in plain sight for a decade. And then it gets dark, because the documentary's most gut-wrenching revelation had nothing to do with football. Manziel revealed that after his career fell apart, he went on a 9-month bender, lost 40 pounds, and was deep into drug use. His plan, in his own words, was to burn through every dollar he had left, and when the money ran out, to end his own life. He came terrifyingly close. Manziel has described that stretch as the absolute lowest point of his entire life, when the kid who once had the whole sports world in the palm of his hand genuinely did not want to be alive anymore. He's also spoken openly about a bipolar diagnosis that went untreated for years. Behind the money signs and the headlines was a 23-year-old whose entire identity was Johnny Football. Watching Johnny Football die and nearly not surviving it. Because here's what's clear. The Heisman wasn't a gift. The Alabama game wasn't luck. The talent was never the question. The work was. And in a league full of guys willing to sacrifice everything, Johnny Football sacrificed nothing and lost everything. Life comes at you fast. Just ask Johnny Manziel.